Namaste and greetings to all. So, in this video, we are discussing a very important topic, that is foundations of American literature. And to start with this topic, let us start by talking the diverse beginnings. So, American literature emerged from a melting pot of influences, including Native American oral traditions, European literary models, Puritan religious writings, and the voices of explorers, colonists, and the enslaved. So, what does this mean? Is that American literature was not born from a single source, it arose from a rich and diverse mix of cultures and voices. So, Native American storytellers laid the groundwork with their vibrant oral traditions, weaving tales that would later influence themes and motifs in written works. So, European colonists, primarily from England, brought with them their literary heritage, which served as a foundation on which American writers would build upon or depart from. So, further enriching this mix were the writings of Puritans filled with rebellious fervor and focus on morality. So these contrasting influences, alongside the first-hand accounts of explorers, colonists, and enslaved people, all contributed to the unique character of American literature from its very beginnings. This diversity of voices and perspectives continues to be a hallmark of American literature, shaping its ongoing evolution. So, if you go into a deep study of American literature or the way Americans express themselves, so there is a theme of a very important theme, that is the search for identity is the key theme of American literature, you can say. So, a big question in early American literature was, who are we as Americans? So these people who migrated from Europe to America, they were questioning themselves, who are we as Americans? Writers were trying to create a style and voice that wasn't just a copy of the Europe. They wanted their words to feel different and truly represent what it meant to live in this new country. So they explored ideas like freedom, how America's wild spaces shaped its people, and what kind of society they wanted to build. All these things set Americans apart from their European roots. And moving forward, when we talk about the landscape or the place of America, the geographical location of America, it also plays a very important role in the literature produced in America as well. And how is that? Let us see. So, if you think of the American landscape, there are mountains, deserts, and wide open plains. It has been like a character in so many stories. So writers use these places not just as backdrops but as forces that shape who their characters are. They write about the awe and danger of the wilderness, the excitement of moving west, and the complicated bond between people and the natural world. The American landscape became a symbol for so many ideas like freedom, opportunity, a place to challenge yourself, or maybe humbled by forces bigger than yourself. So this American landscape has become the an indistinguishable part of American literature. So in the next section now, let us look at major periods and themes. So the first one is pre-colonial and colonial period, from 17th century to 1830. So let us see what it is about. So in the very early days of American literature, religion played a very huge role. So Puritans, with their strict beliefs, wrote a lot of sermons and books about being good, following the God, and the dangers of going on the wrong path. So they were talking about how a man should behave in the society, what is the correct way that the man should follow in the society. So at the same time, explorers and colonists were writing about their adventures in this new land. So they have been describing what it looked like, this new land, what it was like, the amazing resources and their encounters, sometimes friendly and sometimes not so friendly, with the Native American people already living there. So sadly, this conflict was a reality, and captivity narratives became a type of story. These were first hand accounts of colonists who were taken prisoners by the Native Americans. And they give us a very different perspective on the tensions and cultural clashes of that time. And as America formed into a country, political writings became super important, very important. So, so if you think like the Federalist Papers and Benjamin Franklin's ideas, which laid out the foundation of what America would stand for as a democracy. So this political writing was on the rise. So concepts like democracy, freedom, rights, and how government should work, this mattered a big time in this particular period. Okay, so moving ahead, let us now look at the Romantic period, which is from 1830 to 1870. So, during the Romantic period, writers were very focused on feelings, imagination, and the nature. So, transcendentalists like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau believed people could find the truth and a connection to God within themselves and by being in nature. So they wrote about trusting your gut feelings, simplifying life, and the beauty of the wild world, beauty of the natural world. But not everything was bright and cheerful in the American Romantic period. American Gothic writers like Edgar Allan Poe and Nathaniel Hawthorne dove into the dark side of things. They ventured into the dark side of the things. They wrote about creepy things, creepy stuff, the supernatural and twisted parts of the human mind. So they focused more on the darker side of human life. So their stories were all about fear, mystery, and the secrets we might hide into ourselves. So again, so they ventured deep into the negative emotions or darker emotions of human life. So the Romantic period also saw a fascination with the American West. Writers like James Fenimore Cooper painted a picture of a brave frontiersman, grand adventures, and the feeling of endless possibility in the untamed wilderness. So these stories helped create a sense of pride and excitement about America's westward expansion. So let us now talk about realism and naturalism, which was there from 1870s to 1910. So after the flowery language of the Romantics, realism came along and was like, let's get real. So it focused on the real problems or the reality of the natural world, of the reality of the society of that time. So writers like Mark Twain and William Dean Howells wanted to show life exactly as it was, no sugarcoating. So they wanted to portray life as it was actually there. So they wrote about ordinary people and their everyday struggles, not just heroes and grand adventures. So realism also tackled the messy problems of changing America. Cities were growing, factories were booming, and not everyone was doing well. So writers focused on the difficulties of poverty, the gap between the rich and the poor, and the challenges of city life. So naturalism took realism a step further and got even grittier. So writers like Stephen Crane and Jack London believed that people's lives were way more influenced by things that they couldn't control, like their background, the environment, or just plain luck. Their stories often showed people trapped by circumstances, fighting against forces way bigger than themselves. So moving forward, let us now talk about modernist period, which is from 1910 to 1945. And because of this limitation of time, I'm just trying to give you a gist of each particular age. You can go deeper if you want. So this modernist period was a time of big change and experimentation in literature. Writers like Ezra Pound, T.S. Eliot, and William Faulkner, they did not want to write the same old way anymore. They tossed out tradition, they they broke away from the traditional styles, and played with how they put words together, uh, creating stories and poems that felt new and reflected a changing world. World wars and huge social shifts left people feeling lost and disconnected. This feeling of disillusionment and alienation showed up in writings by authors like Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald. Their stories often deal with people who feel empty inside, isolated, and like the world doesn't make any sense anymore. But something amazing was happening during the modernist period, the Harlem Renaissance. It was an explosion of black creativity in art, music, and of course, literature. So, writers like Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, and County Cullen celebrated their culture, history, and experiences. Their voices brought fresh energy and new perspectives to American literature. So, lastly, let us briefly talk about the contemporary period from 1945 to the present moment. So, let us see what happens in the contemporary period. So, in the contemporary period, American literature has become a chorus of many voices. Writers from all sorts of backgrounds, different races, ethnicities, genders, and viewpoints. They tell their stories and explore what it means to be American in a complex world. This gives us literature that's way more vibrant and reflects the incredible diversity of America. Postmodernism brought a playful and sometimes mind bending approach to literature. Writers like Thomas Pynchon, Toni Morrison, and Delilio mix different styles, question the very idea of single truth, and play with the line between serious literature and pop culture. Reading them can be like a wild ride. So finally, American literature never stops changing. So writers today tackle tough issues like technology, climate change, shifting identities, and all sorts of new challenges. They continue to push the boundaries of what writing can be, experimenting with form and how they tell their stories. So it makes for an exciting time to be a reader, of course. So this was all about the foundations of American literature. I hope you have gathered at least some knowledge from our video. If you have done so,